I am here to ramble. Let me back up. It's like the last video, I was like this, all in your ear. I'm like, and that gets a little bit loud. So let me back up a little bit. I know where the fuck to begin. Nickelodeon, Disney Channel. When I catch you in the streets, you're getting fucked up. Can I say that? Is that a threat? Cut. But no, I watched what is it called? Quiet on the Set. And I wasn't going to watch it because, I'm not really a true crime girly. And that's truly what this is. It's true crime. So I wasn't going to watch it. I don't like to relive other people's trauma. Trauma. But I was listening to a podcast and the read. And Kid Fury was like, well, if you can stomach it, I suggest you watch it. And he was like, talking about it. I was like, okay, let me go watch this. And as I was watching it, it's like, it's hard to get through, but it's told from the perspective of the victims. Which victims it's a tough word to use because some people don't want to be victimized, but also I feel like if we don't use the word victim, it lessens the severity of what happened. So I'm going to use that word, but if there's a better word for it, let me know. But the documentary was told from the perspective of the victims, which I felt like, okay, it's giving them the opportunity to share their truth, and I'm sure it's probably cathartic, and validating for them to be able to do that. So I'm going to watch it. If it was sensationalized and kind of from the perspective of some outside third party, I probably would have been, I'm good, I'm a pass. But because it's actually featured the interviews and stories and testimonies of people who were actually in it and affected, okay, I'm going to hear them out. They deserve to have their stories heard. So I watched all 4 parts. I think I watched parts 1 and 2 one day and 3 and 4 the other day. Or I watched part 1 one day and then 2 through 4 the other day. Because once I got to the end of it, the problem is it's still a television program, and so they still know how to, they still use the formulas, and they leave at the end with cliffhangers. So you're okay, well, bitch, let me see what happens. What I have to say, let's start with Dan Schneider, prison. Not sure why we're not there yet. I am sure. I'm positively sure actually why we're not there yet. Something that really upset me with him, the gambit of inappropriate behaviors and commentary and everything that he was responsible for is insane. It ranges from inappropriate to abusive. It ranges from sexism to child endangerment. It's a lot. He treated his female employees ridiculously. The fact that he had 2 people splitting the salary of 1 person is insane. And then getting mad and threatening them when the union demanded that they get paid an actual salary per person, insane. The fact that he would make the women do these incredibly just disgusting things is insane. It tracks because Hollywood, white man, especially those times. But if nowhere, and maybe when I say it might sound delusional, but if nowhere else, you can't work for a children's programming without being sexualized that. That's crazy. You're working for Nickelodeon, where the goal and the objective is to bring joy to children, and still they're a Nickelodeon. You have to put up with the same, and maybe possibly worse, behavior from the men in charge. It's crazy. The things he made them do, the ways he made them feel, the way he was clearly asserting his dominance, but not only his dominance, but the male dominance, and if the women didn't fit in, making them feel uncomfortable, and if they didn't go along with things, they had to bounce. And I know it's an age-old story, but it it doesn't make it any less sad and infuriating and disappointing. Because, these are all shows that we loved. And then the gross thing he had, like the children and like the cast and stuff doing, is unacceptable. And then what really irked my spirit, come on, Mr. Krabs, what really irked my spirit was at the end. Well, first of all, they had like little comments from him throughout the thing, but at the end, he gave this spiel like, oh, everything we done was approved by, executives on both coasts. Okay, bitch, both, New York and Los Angeles girls. And there were parents on set, and there were plenty of other adults on set. Okay, we were on the up and up, and it's like, no, stupid. That's like that is what nobody is saying, that you did all this behind closed doors. In fact, if you maybe he didn't get the chance to watch it beforehand, maybe they just asked him for a quote, but if you actually watch it, they're saying what you're saying. Like, yeah, girl, we were there, but we knew if we spoke up, there were consequences. We were there, and I did speak up, and I wasn't allowed back the next season. Like, nobody's saying that you did this stuff, like without anybody's knowledge. That's the way that this kind of behavior and this kind of abuse works, is that you are able to get away with it. It doesn't have to be some secretive thing that goes on behind closed doors. I mean, really, it still is going on behind closed doors because you're not airing it, But the fact that there were parents and adults on set, they knew that if they spoke up, their livelihood was at risk. If they say, hey, this feels inappropriate, they might not be able to, to pay the bills. Which is a double, like, let's just get all the way into it, okay, right? So that's like my thing. It's like he knew that he had the power. Yeah, they're proving it on coast to coast because all they care about is the money. And so if you doctor it up to look good enough to where they can feel good enough for turning the other cheek, that's what they're going to do as long as you're getting profit. They're just as terrible as you are. That's why you had the job as long as you did. Duh, they approved it. They're just as bad as you are. You're talking about their parents and other people in the room. The adults knew that if they, spoke up, then hey, are we going to have food? Are we going to have somewhere to live? Like, not just the parents, but like the actual people who worked on the show. And again, like I said, a lot of those who did speak up were fired or ousted. And it's also like a power and control thing where like the children will get mad at their parents for speaking up, because the children, they just wanted to be actors. They just wanted to live their dreams. And then like they even saw in the documentary, like there were a couple of relationships that were just fractured because they were like the adults in charge of the show, like Dan, were trying to turn. And I'm going to get to that later because he wasn't really trying to turn them, but the children would turn against their parents if they suspected that their parents' willingness to speak up was why they didn't return to the show. However, because we can have more than one wrong here, for those who did not speak up, like I get it. I get that you like, okay, this is your child's dream, and in your mind, it's like, okay, it's not that bad. We'll get through it, yada yada. At the same time, it's not like it might be your child's dream to be a star or an actor or whatever, right? But it's not their job to keep the lights on, like it should never be a child's responsibility to pay the bills, to make sure you have somewhere to live. So like I get not wanting to speak up because you don't want to, ruin a child's dream. But especially for doing it because, like that's how you guys are surviving. And yeah, you're the manager. Like I'm not saying you're not working. Like they can't get to and from there without you. All that good stuff. Yes, I get it. But if it comes to a point where their safety is in danger, Indeed.com, LinkedIn, Facebook even, ZipRecruiter, it's okay to have a job. It's okay to work. Children don't have to work. They're not supposed to work. We have laws against it, And that is also was kind of confusing is like I feel like the labor laws need to be adjusted a little bit, because if a child can't work at Vaughn's or Ralph's, why on earth are they allowed to work in Hollywood? Why are they allowed to go and shoot a show for hours at a time? Why are they able to go to red carpets and do interviews and do all that? Like, it does, you know why? Because it makes more money than it does if they were working at a grocery store or working at, oil change mechanics place, or if they were working down at, Red Lobster or the Waffle House. It's like, well, if they're working in Hollywood or in the music business, they can make millions. And so then the trade-off is worth it. Millions is worth, I won't even use the word extorting. What's a better word? Abusing. I mean, literally in this case, but like in their eyes, millions of dollars is worth the exploitation of children. Like, that's literally what it is. They find a line. It's like, to me, it feels like a bar graph, not a bar graph, like a line graph, and like at a certain point, when the number's high enough, then it's okay for children to work, like, you can't work at Macy's. It's inappropriate. Children should not be working. They should be at school. However, you can have your own TV show, because that's going to make us the big bucks. Yeah, it's going to, I don't use the word ruin, because it's going to severely damage you psychologically, but money. And so that's what this whole thing kind of gave. It's like, if it were not for the money, nobody would be putting up with this. And it, again, you can take it all the way up to capitalism and like how the whole system is, the evil behind it all. But then, like, when you go through and take like the individual responsibility, Dan was disgusting and wrong and should have been put out a long time ago, but they didn't because of the money. Some of the adults on set, same thing. They knew what was happening. They knew what was wrong, but they were like, really, I got to pay the bill, so I'm going to keep this job. Again, money. Same thing with the parents. Some of them knew things were wrong, but they were like, this is what they want to do. It's bringing in money. I feel like at a certain point, you have to think to yourself, like, is this actually it's my dream to work for someone who, or a company or a machine or a group that promotes this? You know what I mean? Like, your dream might be to be a television writer, but is your dream to write for like a misogynistic, power-hungry, narcissistic sleazeball? Like, is that your dream? Because that's what you're doing. Like, you have to really think about it. Like, if your dream is to be an actor, is it really at any and all cost? Like, is that the thing that is most important to you? So, like, I get it. I get that this was like a great opportunity, yada yada. But it's like, what? But is it a great opportunity if this is what you're putting up with? And it's a bigger conversation, I guess. But to me, like, I quit my job, and I was, I wasn't making, as much as they're probably making, I'm sure. But I was making a decent amount of money, like more than I'm making now still. And I'm like, I just felt like I was working too hard, and I was stressing myself out too much just to make rich people richer. Now, nothing was, as far as I know, everything was on the up and up. Nobody was being exploited. Nobody was being taken advantage of. Nobody was being like abused or anything like that. I was just like, I personally was going through a lot of stress and a lot of just like anxiety and things. And I'm like, this is what I wanted to do. I'm in the position that I worked hard for. This is what I went to school for, and I have it. But at what cost? It's not worth it. Like, I have the salary, and I'm going toward the salary that I've always been wanting. I'm so close to it. This is what I want to do, but I'm like, it doesn't feel good, and that's all right. And like, even though I spent all those years in school and I did all that and that, and like, this is not what I thought it would be. And again, it's not the only option. Like, I could have easily, like, quit and went somewhere else, but I was like, it's not. Let's try a new dream. Let's try to find fulfillment elsewhere. Um, and that is just my personal journey. Like, I don't expect everyone to do the same thing I did, because that doesn't make sense. Um, I'm just saying I have a hard time trying to imagine not putting up, but like at a certain point, I'm just going to be honest, okay? When it comes to children, there's a hard line for me. And so if you are like on the set and you're like witnessing these things and you don't say anything, now you're complicit. Now you're a part of the problem. And my fear is that it sounds a little victim blamey, because I know everybody in the situation is more or less a victim of the, of the bigger people, the Dans and the executives and all that. But like, I don't know, I feel like as adults, it's like our duty to protect children, because they don't have the tools to protect. They don't have the physical capabilities, the mental capabilities, the emotional capabilities, none of that to take care of themselves. They can't sustain life on their own. It's impossible. It won't happen. So like, it's literally up to the adults to keep them safe and protected. Even if they have parents, if you see like, okay, just because they have parents doesn't mean they have, good parents. Or again, it could be a situation where like the parents aren't really allowed to get too close to set and get too close to, to what's actually happening. But if you see it and you don't do anything about it or say anything, to me, it's not okay. And then to continue to work for that same system is not okay. And I'm sure everybody has a way or reason to justify it. But I don't know. It was really sad to see, because again, I don't know if people understand I'm sure most of you do, especially if you're like, a parent, or you are in charge of someone who can't quite fully take care of himself. You understand that like without adults, children can't function, right? And so like I'm gonna move like toward so maybe I'll put this in the beginning as well, but just a trigger warning, because the show does cover, actual like abuse, both like mentally and emotionally, but also like physically and sexually. So again, trigger warning. But like when we get to the first man that they were talking about, the literal, I don't even want to say the word, but the pedophile, right? Admitted. And like, it is extremely disturbing and like disgusting. And I'm glad that people had a close eye on him and that he was taken down, convicted. I am a little bit confused about, so this is when things get tricky, because it's like, abolish, prisons and all that. But I'm not quite there yet all the way, unfortunately. Maybe I am. Maybe people, I'm not against institutions. I should say that. But like, I forgot his name, but the first man that they were talking about, who was like extreme, like he had the bags of hair and everything, like an episode of Criminal Minds. And to think that he was working in television programming for as long as he was is like, my stomach hurts. And then we get to I'm like, do I say his name? Brian Peck. And I am I feel like disgusted is not a strong enough word, but disgusted and also like really, really, really disappointed. And the fact that this happened, and it's like, there's nobody to blame. I mean, there's a ton of people to blame. I'm saying like in the sense of like, so not only I guess trigger warning, but if you want to watch it for some reason, you know, you don't want spoilers or whatever, spoiler alert, I guess. But like the whole thing with the abuse of Drake Bell, it. So the thing about grooming that maybe people don't realize is like the whole point of grooming is to get children and the people around the children to trust the groomer, right? And so like it's extremely unfortunate, but like the truth of the matter is a lot of the people who are abused, it's by someone that they thought they could trust, you know. It's by someone who has like put in like the time and the effort to like win them over. So it's not always stranger danger, right? Sometimes it's Uncle Danger, you know? Not like little, oh yeah, sometimes little uncle actually, but you know what I mean? Just like family friend danger or co-worker danger or whatever else. Because you have to understand that these children are co-workers with adults. And like through watching the documentary, I see that the parents don't draw that line, you know? Like just because everybody's working on the same set does not mean they should be fraternizing. To me, it's strange, right? So an example of Brian, like everybody, you know, loved him, yada yada. He was disgustingly called the pickle boy because, you know, from the show, he was at the pickles and everything. So like everybody thought, okay, you know, that's just silly Brian. But he knew exactly what he was doing the entire time. And it's like watching it back, it's like textbook. And like he did like a textbook job driving the wedge between Drake and his father, you know, and he ended up convincing Drake to, you know, not have his father as manager anymore because his father was getting on to him, you know. And I think, and I get Drake's dad being like, you know, well, I want what's best for my son, I want whatever my son wants. But we have to understand, and it's a tricky line, but again, children, even at 15, children, they no matter how many years they've been in Hollywood or working or may seem like an adult, they don't have the capacity to make the best decisions for themselves. So if your 15-year-old son is saying, hey, I really want to, you know, like not work under you anymore, and I'm going to work for mom or whoever else, and you are like, you know, like I get it, you want to make your children happy, but you also want to keep them safe, and that is the priority. As a child, I'm sure you can think back to many times where you feel like your parents were overreacting, or they didn't give you what you want, or they didn't let you do this and didn't do that. It wasn't because they hated you or they think you don't know anything. It's because they know a little bit more about keeping you safe than you do yourself, and it's hard to grasp as a 15-year-old, but as an adult, you know that. And so if you know you have all these suspicions about Brian and they're trying to gaslight you, maybe they're not gaslighting because maybe they really didn't know, but they're trying to say, oh no, he's not like that, he's just gay, which doesn't, like, that wasn't like, that to me was also like a weird thing to say, like, oh yeah, he's just touchy-feely because he's gay, not because he's a, you know, pedophile. Like, no, it's not how things work at all. That had no logic to me. My point is, I'm rambling, which is fine because that's what this channel is for. But I'm like, if you had this feeling, you knew it was gross, you knew it was wrong, right? And again, but you know, they convinced you otherwise. And then you proclaim that you said to mom, like, hey, You know, whatever you do, don't let him alone around this man. If to me, if you are at the point where you can't trust to leave your child alone with someone, which should be the case for a lot of people, but to the extent like this where you're like given a warning, you don't feel good about it, why are they still in that environment? You know, why either A, get Brian out of the paint, or B, go ahead and scoop up Drake and say, you know, this is a great opportunity, we love it, but this is not right, it's not worth it, you know? Like, I can't speak for Drake, I don't know. I would not think what he went through was worth the success of his TV show. I'm sure there's like a way to, you know, like in any situation you can find the bright side and all that, but I just don't think it'll be worth it. And I feel, and of course the time he would have been, it could have fractured a relationship, right? He could have been so upset he never wants to speak to you again, and yada yada, and who knows what that would have turned to, right? We don't know. But years later, when he found out that, you know, old boy was an actual child R word or ist, he was like, oh, okay, Dad knew what I was talking about. I'm so glad I got out when I did, you know? And if that moment never comes, you still have to be comfortable in the fact that you've made the right decision for the safety of the person you are in charge of keeping safe and alive, if that makes sense. And so this is not like, I'm not passing judgment or anything, because I know it's really like webbed and everything, and I know he really cares for him and all of those things. And I'm just saying to anyone out there who might be listening, what Brian did is exactly what groomers do. They go through they make you believe like, oh, okay, you know, we're good people, you know, you can trust me. They build a relationship so that way you don't feel, you know, like things are happening behind your back, but all the while things are, right? And they start to like instill secrets, and they do like small secrets at first to see if you share those, or if you keep them to yourself. Then the secrets get a little bit bigger to see if you share those or keep it to yourself, right? Until push comes to shove. And so it, like, watching it back, maybe they know that now, maybe they don't. I like most of the reason I know this is only because I have to take trainings about like grooming and stuff, and like what to look out for and how to report in things for work. So like through that, I've learned a lot more of like what it looks like and how to identify it early on, and like the effects of it. And I think because of that, it's made me even more vigilant. And I think like that information needs to be disseminated like widely, you know, like even like at like in our district, even the students of all ages are required to watch some sort of video on like how to be safe around adults, for more or less, right? Like the adult version of it is very like explicit, like these are the signs of grooming, here's what it looks like, here's some case studies, here's what like we can do, here's like some actual cases that have happened in this district, yada yada. And then like they kind of scaffold it for different levels. Like the elementary version is very like, here's, safety looks like, here's what you should not do, here's what you should do. But not in the sense of like these adults might take advantage of you, but in the sense of like, keep on open communication with their parents and stay safe. And then like for the high school one, it's, much more like detailed and like, this is what it can look like, this is who it could be. If you have friends who you think are, victims, please, do this, do that. And I think that helps a lot because again, like I look back to when I was in high school and I had a friend, again, I'm high school. So like, we were like sophomore, junior, like 15, 16, 17 years old. And she had like I don't even call him a boyfriend, but she would consider him a boyfriend, and he was like in his 30s. And like at the time, it was just like, girl, that's weird. Why are you dating this older weird man? That's strange, you know. Looking back at it now as an adult, I feel sorry for her, and I'm like disgusted by the man, right? And if I would have known then what I know now, like if I had had that training at that time, I would have told somebody, right? Like at that age, I just thought it was like weird, but like, okay, if that's what you want to do. I didn't realize like that man was like taking advantage of her, and I don't even want to like go on about it, but I'm just like, the word needs to get out. This video has taken a turn, but we have to know the signs, and we have to report the signs. And so the fact that this man, the victim, you know, was like, going back to the film, I don't know, Drake, was abused in this way. And then again, it's like, it's a classic case, kept it to himself, you know, didn't really want to say anything. Thankfully, his girlfriend's mom, you know, caught on, and things just kind of like unraveled from there. But so when they go to court, right, you have fucking James Marsden and so many other people writing letters on his behalf. People saying that, you know, that's not who he is to be. And that one lady who was like, you know, if he did this, it was because he was just tempted beyond, you know, his ability to control himself, and yada yada. Like, are you serious? Are you a serious person? And I, like, some of these people may also be victims and might not realize it. So I'm like, I'm not going to do too much. Like, I'm pretty sure he knew, like, James Marsden probably knew him since he himself was a child. I'm not sure, actually. I gotta look more into it. But, like, I don't know. It doesn't make it right. It explains a little bit more of it. Like, girlie, maybe you need to also see that, hey, you too were taken advantage of and abused. But it's like, it was wild to like see the support he had, and the fact that he only got what was it, like 16 months in jail, and then was hired to work on the fucking Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. I almost threw my TV. Like, or the Sweet Life on Deck, whichever one it was. Like, the fact that the person who hired him was so like gung-ho and quick to like, okay, yeah, come on this show. We have to take a look at him as well. And in fact, I need to do that after this video, see what his deal is. Because if you are that quick to hire a convicted predator, to me, it means you want the same grace when you get taken down. When they find out that you're a predator, you want somebody to be like, well, you know, we're going to hire him anyway because people deserve second chances and yada yada, whatever his excuse was. So nobody was protecting the actual children, and they were just used as ways to make money. And it's the saddest thing. Like, they can say, oh, you know, children's programming and kids like to have TV shows and yada yada yada. At the end of the day, they don't care about that. They don't care about the joy or happiness or well-being of children, because if they did, they wouldn't exploit the ones they have, right? They care about the money. They care about getting children to tune into a TV show so they can make money off of it, not the actual enrichment and joy of children, which is, you know, extremely obvious by the treatment of their own, like, I hate to say it, but employees. So I think we need to take like a big look at employing children in Hollywood. It's okay to go to school, and it's okay for adults to work, you know. We can bring back just animated shows where the animated characters are voiced by adults who, you know, have fully formed frontal lobes, who have the ability to make quality decisions. I mean, not to say all adults equally have, you know, good decision-making skills, but they are much less susceptible to being taken advantage of, so, like children are. Because again, children, they only, like, if they're not with safe adults, they're not safe. It's unfortunately that simple, and it's that, like, flat out. The environment they in determines what they are subject to. So if you're in an environment that everyone's safe and kind and happy, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get a safe, kind, happy environment. If you're in an environment where you can't trust anybody and everybody's unsafe, that's what's going to happen to you. You can't, like, they don't know any better, and people don't understand, like, they are literally wired to trust the adults around them. So if you are a disgusting abuser, but you're telling them, like, hey, it's okay, they're like, okay, girl, well, this is an adult, they're in charge, I'm supposed to trust them, so this must be fine. Like, it's just Nickelodeon, shut it down. To me, firing Dan, it took way too long, and I feel like it only came because, I not feel like it did only came because of, like, the backlash became too much. Because even after all this was going on, after all these allegations and complaints, they were still giving him awards and giving him new shows and everything. It only became, again, to a point where they thought that the money was going to be affected. Like, again, I think their thing is, yeah, we can handle this as long as he's making money. But if it gets to a point where we might start losing money based off of this, that's when they cut it. Their line is not morality, it's not ethics, it's not basic human decency, it's money. Which is, most things in a capitalistic society, but at the expense of children is great. Like, to me, taking advantage of people in general is just gross. And people are always taking advantage of the disadvantaged, those who, really need the money or need the job or need the opportunity. You're right, or have much less access to those things because they're more willing to put up with a lot of things because they have lower chances of getting it, just in general, right? If you know that as a woman writer, right, there are very few opportunities, and you finally get one, you're going to put up with a lot more stuff because if you lose this opportunity, there might not be another one. And so people always prey on people in those positions. And then if you double that with someone being a child, prison is not a bad enough place. It's just not. So I thought it was eye-opening. It was sad, disappointing, and also I think we need to take a bigger look at the whole idea of children working, especially in Hollywood. Like it has now been proven, testified against, convictions have been made, like, without a doubt, that people on Nickelodeon, which is like the channel for children, have been abused and taken advantage of. And, like, psychologically, like, I hate to use the word damaged, but that's really what it is. Like, it's a tough word, but it's a tough situation. Like, psychologically damaged from just trying to live their dreams, And if they're not safe on Nickelodeon, where the fuck else can you go, If Disney Channel is just going to hire the same pedophiles that are fired from Nickelodeon, where can you go, The line needs to be drawn. I don't think there's any TV show that's worth it, I loved all those shows growing up. Knowing what I know now, I feel incredibly sorry for everybody who was a part of it. And I don't think that they would think it's worth it. And maybe they will, I don't know. I don't think it's worth putting people through those things to have television programming. Like, to me, it's already like sus when, like, having, the babies and children on social media and doing skits and stuff like that. But to me, 9 out of 10 times it's with your parents. You're at home or somewhere you want to be. And again, a lot of children do like performing. Like children just in general enjoy performing. Not in general, but you know what I mean? Like there are a lot of children who enjoy, doing sports or, acting, singing, whatever. And so like fostering that at home, I think is a great way to do it. If you like, okay, this is what you like to do. Let's break out this iPhone. Let's go ahead and make some TikToks. That's enriching. The kids get to perform. You have an eye on it. You're in charge. It only gets really suspect if you are like, again, if you start to exploit the child, like, okay, like, no, you're not going to go to school today because we got TikToks to film, bitch. No, you can't go out, hang out with your friends, girly. You better get in here and write this script. Like, that's when it gets weird. But if the kids like doing it, they like to perform, go ahead and go get them a college fund off TikTok or YouTube or whatever. Do not send them down to Nickelodeon Studios. Do not send them down to Universal Studios. Do not send them down to Paramount. Okay? Don't call Cartoon Network. It's okay. When they're 18, they can go ahead and do that. All right? We have to get them out of there, in my personal opinion. And I don't think it's like a end all be all, right? Like I don't think that's happening on every set. Obviously it's not. There are parents who are on, they're there in the dressing room, they're there on the set while they're filming. They don't leave their child's side. I get it. But it just feels like it can wait. Much like any other job, it can wait. Why not go to high school and do a drama program? Why not go to college and major in theater arts or whatever? Why not? Why do we have to get them up at 5 a.m. shooting 12-hour days immediately? We don't. I have rambled. This is on. Sorry, I was going to say a different sentence, but I've rambled and veered. This was supposed to be a ramble, but I have more things to talk about. But I'll save those for another video. So yeah, that was a lengthy opinion on what I watched. There's so many more things I want to talk about, but it's such a layered and lengthy documentary that really, if you want to watch it, you should watch it for yourself. I just want to make sure that this is like a reminder to stay vigilant. You might be able to trust the lady or the man or whoever who gives your, or non-binary or whatever, that gives your child piano lessons. That doesn't mean you drop them off at their house and go run errands. I know you have errands to run. I know you're very busy. Bring a laptop, sit there while they do their lessons. I know you might trust the coach. Don't let your coach drive the child to and from practice on their own. I know you, even as a teacher, right? I trust myself, and I hope that the parents trust me, and everybody else around trusts me, yada, 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 right? Still, no matter what's happening, if it's me and one student, we're in the hallway, or the door's open, or I invite another adult to come in, or another child, or whatever, only because I don't want them to think that they should be in a room alone with an adult that's not it's like a parent or like a caregiver, like a core caregiver. Obviously they can trust me, and I know they can trust me. They know they can trust me. Their parents know they can trust me. But it's setting the expectation and the boundary, so that way when they are with somebody they can't trust, they know it's going to be sus. Like, why is the door closed? Why is it just me and this person in a room with the door closed? Like, I don't want them to think that's acceptable, so I always make sure door's open. If for some reason it's a private conversation, door's still open, or we're gonna go out into the hallway, or I'll call another adult to come into the room. Whatever it is, just make sure you instill in them that, hey, don't be in a room with an adult with the door closed. Even like when you send the child to the principal or the vice principal's office, the door stays open, you know? Like we need to set that boundary. And a lot of people, a lot of districts, it's the law. Like you have to do it just like in order to quote unquote protect yourself. But more importantly, I do it just to make sure that that is what they expect the standard to be, and it raises red flags when the opposite happens. Quick diversion. This brings me back to, like, this is so unrelated, but the Giselle and Candace thing when Candace's husband, went to Giselle's dressing room, and I guess the door was closed and just the two of them. Like I'm sure I talked about this before, and I'm not sure what my opinion was on it at the time, but above all else, I get it. Like I think her point was it was uncomfortable and it was strange. Like she was in a room with someone else's husband with the door closed, just the two of them. That's strange. And Candace, and like I get Candace saying like, you're just trying to do this for TV, yada 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 yada. And that part may be true, but I don't think that changes her feelings or the point. Like even if Giselle didn't think that Chris was going to do anything, inappropriate, the scene of it all made her uncomfortable, and that is what I get it. Like that's what I'm trying to instill. Like even if you don't think something's going to happen, the scene is set up for something bad to happen, and we shouldn't even be in that situation. So, one, make sure your children don't feel comfortable just being alone in a room with another adult, and if you can help it, be there as well. Two, make sure there are no secrets, not even between their favorite auntie, their favorite, grandparent, favorite grandma, grandpa, cousin, uncle, because again, what a groomer will do is they, like, if without secrets, they can't do what they're trying to do. So they will make sure to try to convince the child to keep things to themselves. So make sure you instill that in the kids, like no such thing as secrets. I tell that even with my own students. I'm like, no matter what, tell your parents. Okay? If there's something that you feel like if you can't, something happened, you can't tell me, make sure you tell mom and dad, whatever it is. Okay? Or whoever's at home, whoever takes care of you. If it's something that like I did that you feel like uncomfortable by, like if I yelled too loudly, or if you asked me a question and my response was not nice, or anything, right? Tell your parents. If you don't feel comfortable telling me for whatever reason, maybe you feel shy, maybe you feel like I might get upset, whatever you think it is, tell your parents. Or whoever your caregivers are, whoever's in charge at home, tell them. There should be no secrets, because again, secrets, not only do secrets not make friends, they make for problems. And on that note, I've been here for 48 minutes doing a PSA on accident. Brian Peck, the other nasty man, Dan, Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, James Marsden at this point, everybody else that was a part of this disgusting ring of just unsafety and abuse, out of here. Hell. To all those who were actually in the documentary, I'm thankful that they felt comfortable enough and brave enough to share their stories and share how they felt and like honestly express what they were feeling. And not everybody was there to talk about the bads. A lot of them were there to talk about the good too. Some people were saying, hey, I never thought that they would do this. I thought they were this. I thought they were that. I thought they were cool. Like Giovanni, for example, I don't think she had too many negative things to say. I thought her things mostly she thought this person was cool. She thought that person was cool. And I thought that is just as important, because abusers don't often present themselves as abusers, right? Like they put up this facade, like you can trust them, they're happy-go-lucky, they're friendly, yada yada. And there are going to be people who are going to be extremely shocked, like, oh my God, I would never think that. So that's why it's important to also tell those stories too. So this has been going on for a long time. I have to go clean my fan. Literally, my fan. I'm like, it's very dusty. Let me clean it. And some other things around the house. Hopefully, I'll be able to post this soon. I hope you're all having a good time. I owe you a more lighthearted video. So I think it's gonna be. Oh, bitch! Guess what? Cowboy motherfucking Carter's coming out on Thursday, which is literally tomorrow night. Okay. So I will indeed be talking about that. I'm really, really excited. I got some new plants that I want to talk about. I want to talk about plant care because I'm getting into plants, and I want to talk to you girls about, getting into that. And just like, mental health and overall improvements and books I've been reading and all that. We have a lot to talk about. I really want to say that I'm back. I'm going to find a way to put ASMR into my schedule. Like I told you in the last ADHD videos, how I have my structured schedule and everything. I don't have a slot in there for ASMR, and I think that's where my problem is that since it's not scheduled, I don't make time for it. So I need to go ahead and put a block in my weekly schedule to make sure, because I enjoy doing this. One, I get to talk, which is always a joy for me. It's a nice way to kind of relax, but also more importantly, it helps other people. I personally love ASMR. I listen to it all the time. All the time throughout the day. And my favorite kind is when people are rambling, soft spoken. And I know what it does for me when other people do it, and I really appreciate all the comments and everything that I receive, and so I know people also enjoy it, and so it is nice for me to be able to provide that for other people, especially because there's a lot of times when I type in male ASMR soft spoken ramble all the time, and YouTube, they have the utter worst, their search algorithm is the opposite of Reddit, right? At Reddit, you type in, what to do if my donkey has one eye left and he's walking in a wobbly line all the way to the trough. And they'll have 4 posts with that exact question with actual accurate answers. YouTube, I type in male soft-spoken ASMR ramble, and I get a heather feather whispering, it's the most random thing. And they'll show you some recommendations, and then they'll show you some continue watching, and they'll show you some more from people you subscribe to. And it's no, girlie, I just want what I wanted. And a lot of times, now I'm ranting, a lot of times, so I'll have to switch the filters and parameters. I only want videos posted within the last 7 days and unwatched. But then you click on a video, when you go back to search, you have to do that whole thing over again. And some of you girls, okay, you'll put soft spoken in the title or somewhere in it for the SEO of it, but then you don't be soft speaking. And by some of you girls, really it's just one person, and maybe I should just block that account. Not even out of animosity, but because why are we misleading? And a lot of people are also I'm reading this, listening to this book, Filter World, which I'll talk about in a video as well. But a lot of people, they mentioned in the video that a lot of people do what the algorithm wants them, or what they think the algorithm wants them to do. And in turn, both the creator and the listener are not fully satisfied with the material. For example, I don't need any more cranial nerve exams. The ASMR is full of that at this point, thousands of cranial nerve exams. What else is there to examine? We can simply, those videos are evergreen. They don't go away. They don't become irrelevant. I don't know how long it would take me to watch all of the cranial nerve exams that are currently posted on YouTube now, and probably after I post this, there will be probably another new 100 within the next week. And again, because they do popular, people do more of them, and because there are so many, people continue to watch them. And it's just like, it's this loop of people making things that they think people want to see, and people clicking on those things because that is what is popular and widely available. Um, like there are some channels where, I subscribe because I started off doing just, rambling and soft spoken and just, whispering and nonsense. And then it turns into like they do something, and that something becomes a success for them. And so they just start to do mainly that, which I think it's fair in the sense of like, if that did well, then apparently people liked it, so let me make more people like. But in my opinion, that already exists. You know what I mean? Like, so if people like that, there are already plenty of sources to get it. I think you should do what you like and what you enjoy. So, for example, there were times where like I bought like a camera and a tripod because I was like, people get more views when they like put their face and their body and themselves into it and all that. But then I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go to the trouble of setting up a camera and angling it and trying to get it correct and all that, because that's not the point of the video. That's not even what I care to do, because I just go to ASMR to listen. My problem is I do, my unfortunate male instinct does kick in sometimes. So sometimes I will click on a video based on the thumbnail, Sometimes if somebody's attractive, I might give them a pass and watch a little bit more of their videos than I probably would otherwise. But then that's, but I'm like, I don't want to do that. I just want to just talk about nothing. I just want to ramble. That's all I want to do. And I'm going to stick to that. Maybe this video might get more, like, for example, I was doing like the name videos and things like that, but things that are like scripted, I don't really enjoy because I get bored. And I know that they're popular and people like them, but they exist outside of me and I don't enjoy doing them, so why should I? And that's the case for a lot of things, So a lot of times, again, we create what people want to, or what's popular, but then it becomes oversaturated, and then there's nothing left for those who don't want that. So I think, I say all that to say, I'm going to put it in my schedule. I'm going to continue to do things in this manner, where I just talk into the microphone and create a nice thumbnail on Canva and send it off to the ether for you to listen to. Because again, I do my ASMR without watching it, because it's always playing while I'm doing something else, and if something is on the screen, it becomes distracting. Sometimes I like having it, obviously something to look at. But again, if people want that, there are 1,000,001 channels that have that. So I don't even know how this began, but I was saying I make videos because I like. Okay, so my point is, I'm going to continue to make what I enjoy to listen to / make. And if you have any other suggestions of people who do the same, let me know. Again, I'm nosy. I like being in people's business. I like to hear stories. I like to hear what's going on. I'm not too big on like role plays. I'll listen to them because they're still relaxing, but there are a lot of them and I don't always need them. I like the human connection of it, just being able to like keep up with someone, and also like for example, I talk about it all the time, but like Nick's Ramble ASMR, I feel very like, it's nice because like he has built like a community, right? And it's interactive and entertaining, and it doesn't feel like forced, and it brings joy and an additional element to it all, it doesn't feel like a product. So I like the aspect of like the human connection of it all, and there are a couple of channels that are like that I enjoy. I love Patrick. Or is it Pat or Patrick? What does he go by? Either way, he's very committed to staying very low key, and very just like, this is what I do, and I love that. So yeah. But also shout out to the girls who do like to upgrade and get into the roleplay bags and do all that too. I really am rambling. Maybe I should not record ASMR videos this soon after taking my Adderall. Because now I've too invested. It's been an hour. This might be my first ASMR video that's an hour long. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. It's going to take about 45 days to upload. No, it won't, because I will switch back to Spectrum. Side note, you have Verizon Wi-Fi. I talked about it already, but they pulled a fast one. Less money on Beyonce, more money on towers and improving the service. And on that note, until next time, yeehaw.